Hi guys, it's Teresa. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the series of wrapping up 2017. My favorite videos to film and to watch, let's be honest. Today I'm doing my most disappointing reads of 2017 and unfortunately there's a lot. I just counted, I think I have like 13 books. And I read over 100, like a little bit over 100 this year, and that's a lot. That's like a tenth. These books weren't necessarily bad books, and there'll be a separate video on the worst books that I've ever read. Not ever read this year. But these are just like books that I thought were gonna be good, and then they were letting me down, basically. That I thought were going to be better, at least, in some regard. Anyway, let's just jump into it right away because I think this video is going to be a little bit long. The first two books I'm going to mention together, and I'm very, very sad that these made it on this list. I really wish they weren't on this list. I really, really do. And these ones are Authority and Acceptance by Jeff Vandermeer, book 2 and 3 in the Southern Reach trilogy. I will be filming, hopefully at some point, a complete review on this entire trilogy because I have some things to say that go beyond the scope of this video, but I didn't have a chance to do that yet, so that will happen probably 2018. But anyway, these books, the reason they were so disappointing is because book 1 made it on the list of best books of 2017. It is 5 stars, 10 out of 10, if there were 10 stars. It would get all of the stars ever. It was so amazing. It was so gripping and so creepy, and I felt so involved, and like, it was just so intense. The reading experience was so intense, and I like had so many questions and I wanted to know, and then these books came and they just like didn't do any of the things that I wanted them to do. Book 2 followed a completely different perspective than book 1, and it just felt all over the place and a little bit weird. And even though we were following someone on the inside of the Southern Reach organization, they didn't seem to be doing their job. Like, they didn't seem to know anything either, which was very disappointing. Like, you'd think that they would know stuff, but they didn't. And yeah, it was just a little weird. And then book 3 completely unraveled for me. Like, nothing was answered. It seemed honestly like the author himself had no idea what the fuck Area X even was, and instead of thinking of something that it could be, he went just like, oh, we don't know. That's just it. That's the good thing about it. We don't know. Like, that's the point of it. Like, oh, are you serious? Are you serious? That's not it. You have to know. You should know. Even if you don't put it in the book, an author should know. Like, that's my opinion. You don't have to write it out in the book if you really want to conceal it from the reader, but you personally have to know, and I really didn't think like he knew anything. So it was very disappointing. With this series, I really recommend just reading the first book and then just like moving on from there. Like, just pretending the sequels don't exist, because they're really, really disappointing. Next, I have a very obscure book that I don't know if anyone knows this, but it is How to Fight Islamist Terror from the Missionary Position by Tabish Khair. This is a very odd book. In this book we follow, I think, a Pakistani and an Indian immigrant to Denmark, and they both move in with a guy called Kareem, and he's a Muslim, and he turns out to be an extremist and like part of a terrorist group or something. And based on that premise, you'd think like the book was either going to be like really, really interesting, or because it was kind of trying to be funny, clearly based on the title, it would be funny, but it just kind of fell flat. Like, it kind of went nowhere. It was quite tedious to read, and I didn't think, like, the ending was just very meh, and I feel like it didn't live up to the potential based on the premise, basically. Then we've got a book that's kind of getting a lot of positive reviews on BookTube, and I just don't understand why, really. That is 6 Stories by Matt Wesolowski. It is basically a mystery crime novel told in podcast format, which is basically the only interesting thing about it. If you take the format and unique format away, it's the most basic crime story ever. It has barely any surprise. There's like one surprising plot twist, and from there it goes downhill again, and it's just so mediocre. And based on everybody's reviews, I was really thinking I was gonna love it, especially because it's based on Serial, the podcast, and I love Serial, but it just fell so flat, and it's just, oof. It's just kind of trying to be cool and trying to follow the hype, but the substance of it doesn't live up to that, and it doesn't, you know, no. Oh my god, these books, people are gonna hate me for these. Well, I don't know, you know me, you know I have unpopular opinions. The Crooked Kingdom it's not the Crooked Kingdom duology, the Six of Crows duology. Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Lee Bardugo. These books are incredibly hyped on BookTube. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. Everybody loves them. Literally everyone. And I spent a lot of money to buy them in these hardcover beautiful editions, and I wish I hadn't. Because they're not that good. I do like Lee Bardugo's writing. I think she can write really well, but it's the same with the Grisha trilogy. I hate her endings. She doesn't end her books well. They're always so like, ugh, don't do that. No, I hated Crooked Kingdom. It was very all over the place. It just was so unrealistic. They were literally like, anytime anything went wrong, Kaz turned out to have planned it that way all along, and I was like, really? Like, that's not how it works. And Six of Crows actually was fine. I think it was 4 stars, and it's like 1 star. And it wasn't good. It wasn't terrible, but it's definitely not like the best fantasy YA series ever. Like, there's so many better series. Definitely don't, you know. I recommend like buying maybe 1 in paperback and then seeing if you know, I don't know. The second one is really bad though. Like, the second one, just skip it. It's really bad. Anyway, moving on. The next book is a thriller, and I feel like there's kind of a lot of them in this video. But this is Second Life by S.G. Watson. Ignore the horribly ugly cover. I really like S.G. Watson's Before I Go to Sleep. I read that book years ago, and it blew my mind, and it kind of got me into reading more thrillers, and it got me really interested in that genre, because it was just so well done, and I loved it. And I thought this book would be too, and it just wasn't really that great. In this we follow a woman whose sister gets murdered, and she creates a sort of secret identity on the internet to try and find out who her sister's murderer is, and it is just so all over the place. You kind of have a very clear idea of how it's going to end from pretty early on, and it's just so weird. And then there's like a plot twist that seems so just like for the sake of being a plot twist and not something that has been built up to. So yeah, it was just, it wasn't that, like, it wasn't a horrible thriller, I think, but because my expectations were so high based on Before I Go to Sleep, I thought this one would be just as good, and it sadly wasn't, so. Then we have another BookTube darling, more so from last year, and that is The Girls by Emma Cline. I heard so many people rave about this book. I bought it because of the hype, and I read it, and it's just, I had a lot of issues with it. I did a rant review on this one as well, I think. I will also link that one. Basically, the writing style is so obnoxious. I feel like it's trying to be so whimsical and so beautiful that it's getting into the territory of pretentious, and it was starting to get annoying. Oh, the main character was the worst. And yeah, you can hear more of my thoughts on this one in the rant review. So it wasn't the worst book ever, but it was just not as good as people kept saying, and I was more annoyed than anything else. Next is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. Now, I will say this probably was disappointing to me because I'm not the target audience anymore. This book is for younger people. This is very clearly YA, like it's very, not just like YA in terms of like, oh, it's being shelved as YA. It reads like YA like a lot. It's not a bad idea. I think I would have enjoyed this book a lot more had I read it like 10 years ago or so, but it's just, it didn't appeal to me anymore. I couldn't, like, it just, I don't know, it just dragged on at some point, and I was just like, okay, like, well, I'll just keep reading so that I'll finish it. But yeah, it wasn't anything spectacular to me. Then we have another thriller. Are you surprised? I'm not. In the Woods by Tana French. I bought it because a lot of people that I really like watching and whose opinion I really value here on BookTube have talked about it and recommended it, and I thought I'd give it a try, but I just did not enjoy it at all. The main mystery in this book gets never resolved. Like, how the fuck can you get away with writing a book like this? Also, the second mystery is like a mystery for like the entire book, and then at the end they go back to the place that they were at the very first time that they like started the investigation, and they like investigate a little bit more and they solve the murder. Like, what? How can the police team like get away with doing such a shoddy investigation in the first place? I don't get it. It was just not well done. I didn't like the dynamics of the characters. Like, it was just blah. It wasn't horrible again. And I did kind of like the style of writing, but it was just so mediocre and very annoying and unsatisfying in its ending. The next disappointing book was House of Leaves by Marksy Danielewski. It is just too pretentious for me. I understand why people like it, maybe. If you want to take the time and energy that it takes to understand this book, you need to put in a lot of work, a lot of time to like research everything, I feel like, and like reread this book a million times, which I am not here for. I don't, like maybe you do, but I don't want to have to put in so much extra work aside from reading a book to even understand it. It's an interesting idea. It is definitely unique. It's so pretentious. Ooh, and it's not for me. It's just not for me. I guess maybe some people will love it, but it's not for me. Then we have another book that I bought because of so many best books of 2016 videos, which are always dangerous because they make me buy like all of the books. The Vegetarian by Han Kang. So many people love this book. I really thought it was pretty bad. Not horrible, but just so confusing, and I kept thinking like, what is the point of this? It is very, very odd. Which is not a bad thing always, but like I just couldn't deal with it. Somehow the kind of revelationary part of this, is that a word? I really don't know, went over my head. Like, if there is something so special about it for you, great, but it's just not for me. Next is The Kraken King by Brook. This is the 4th book in the Iron Seas series. I don't know, I think it's the last one so far, but I read the first 3 like several years ago and I really enjoyed them. They're just like really fun and lighthearted, like steampunk love stories, and I really quite enjoyed the love stories in the first 3, and this one was just so obnoxious. Basically the couple fall in love like on page 50, and then from there on there's like, because the book is so long, there's just unnecessarily created drama that is just so fucking annoying. And the story around it was quite nice, but because of that, it really got destroyed. And I don't know if it's because I read the first 3 books like so long ago that I enjoyed them more, but this one is a no. I did not like it. And finally, another book I ranted about, are you surprised? Ashes to Ashes by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. This is book 3 in the Burn for Burn trilogy that is like a YA contemporary. So it's like, how can your expectations be high for this? Well, I gave book 2 5 stars. I thought it was amazing. It just happens so rarely with YA contemporaries that it is basically a miracle. But I really loved book 2. Somehow I was just like so hooked by this like high school, like petty little feuds, and I don't even know, like I was hooked by it. But the 3rd book was so terrible. Oh, the series went from 5 stars in book 2 to 1 star in book 3, and it just like completely fell apart. It was horrible. The ending was horrible. Like, just no. And that finally concludes all of my most disappointing books of 2017. Let me know in the comments down below what was your most disappointing read of this year, and what you thought of the books that I mentioned today. Maybe you enjoyed them a lot more than I did. It's always possible. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely week, and come back very soon for another video wrapping up 2017. Yay! That deserves a little dance. I don't know why, but it does, okay? I will see you very soon. Have a lovely week. Bye!